Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Developer Dynasty here on Twitch for Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2021. Very excited to bring this Developer Dynasty to you tonight as we are closing in on first access. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the stream. And as you can see, I put a message in the chat box right away. If you've got comments or suggestions or ideas, things you want to see, feel free to put them in the chat box and I will interact with you. I'll show you different screens, different things in the game, anything you want to see, anything you want to talk about. As always, we start by thanking our followers to the channel, including the newest followers we have as our channel continues to grow. And I especially want to thank our subscribers who either are subscribing on their own or subscribing through you can link your Twitch Prime account to Amazon Prime and you get a free sub every month. So if you're doing that, don't forget to renew it for us. We need you to renew that free sub every month and keep our subscriber count up. That supports us, supports our efforts on what we're doing here. And I hope everybody has had a chance to check out Draft Day Sports College Football 2021. We released the game officially on Friday. And the first update was put out last night as well. So if you haven't gotten the first update, make sure you go to our website and our forums. And there's a link there, or it's just the original link that when you got your download email. And on Steam, you can update automatically. Good to see some guys in the chat I've been seeing for a while. Breeze, GTNM, and Coolish Jedi. Welcome to all of you guys, as well as everybody else out there. Like I said, feel free to throw something in the chat box and let's talk. So, one thing I haven't been able to show off yet so far this year is the changes to the Bubble Watch page. So I'm going to pull that up here for you because I have a season that's finally later on into the year. And if you haven't looked at this page, the media poll during our streams, we've added the arrows and the color, coordinated numbers so that you can tell teams who are moving up and down. GM Games Chris here. Good to see you, Chris. So here's the Bubble Watch. What we've done this year is, again, kind of changed this a little bit with the display. The blue circles will let you know who the ranked teams are. The green highlighted labels here let you know that those teams, if they finish and win their conference, would win an automatic bid, and everybody else would be an at-large bid. You're also seeing the net rankings of each team. We've talked about net a couple of times so far. I know we have some people who are newer to the stream, so I'm going to take a look at that in just a minute and kind of talk about that again. But this is a really good tool here looking at the net rankings of the teams. You can see that the teams who would be at large bids, 31 net ranking there, 39, 40, 47, 48, 55, 56. So, kind of in that range. There's a couple teams who would be out on the bubble here who, might have slightly better net rankings, but just not good enough to get in based on their records. At least this is the projection. This is not completely 100% accurate when it comes time to choosing the tournament teams, but this is the projection here. So after February 1st in the game, you can come to this the polls and media screen, click on the Bubble Watch, and you'll be able to see kind of all the teams who are, probably in, as well as the ones who still have a chance to get in with an at-large bid. Don't forget, while you're here, you can also check out the Norton Watch, which will let you see who is, the favorites to win the Norton Award in the game, as well as there's the in-game magazines, which I like the season preview one a lot. During the course of the year, I have to update the pictures I haven't updated the magazines here yet, but during the course of the year, as you go forward between each year, it will give you the top 25 here, or it will also give you a breakdown of every conference prior to the season as well. So even if you're playing as a team that's not a top 25 team, you can still find yourself in this season preview and, see where where the game thinks you will rank and stuff like that. So you can even find a smaller conference like what we have as a Skyline League in the game, and you'd be able to see where they think you'll rank, who your key players, bench players are, who your starters are, and where you rank in the conference. So don't forget to check out these types of things in the game. So I mentioned net, and I'm going to go over to the Insights page to talk about that real briefly. And again, if you have anything that you want to ask a question about or see, even if it's something we've covered already, and you're circling back to it or anything like that, go ahead, put it in the chat box, and I will answer. So on the Insights page, there's a couple new ones here too. Things like the lineup tracking for the 4 factors, the 4 factors team versus team. Your lineup tracking itself is expanded with more information. One thing that the college game has that the pro game doesn't have is an insight for team prestige history. This will show you, whichever team you are over. This is obviously the first season, so there's no history here. But over time, you'll see a graph here that will show you how your team's prestige has risen or hopefully not fallen. But that's in here as well. As these bubble charts too, I think are useful and kind of fun. This is the efficiency versus usage on your own team, so you can see their usage rate and their true shooting percentage here. There is also within your conference, and you can see your team will have your team colors, as well as other teams will have their team colors as well when you roll over them. But this way gives you a chance to see kind of like who's really good in your conference, that and especially seeing where your players stack up against the rest of the conference. And it's with the college game, the rosters are obviously all fictional, and they turn over year after year because kids graduate and they move on very quickly. So sometimes you don't get a good feel for who's all in your conference and stuff like that. So I think this chart can kind of help that when you're looking at the the conference the conference charts here. You can kind of see where you have players as well as who else in the conference is a really good player. But the thing we're looking for here right now is the team sheet. So this team sheet shows you the net quadrants, and this is new to the game this year. This is new sort of to college basketball as they moved away from the RPI and RPI ranking, stuff like that, and to this net formula, which divides your games into 4 quadrants. And you can see those quadrants are based on the net of the opponent and whether you're home, neutral, or away. So obviously with the team I've been running here, Idaho State, most of our wins have been quadrant 4 teams. And those are the teams in gray are the teams that are in your conference, and the teams that are in the teal here are teams that are outside of your conference. So, we had some non-conference wins, but, there's 4 in quadrant 4, 2 in quadrant 3. Those aren't particularly impressive victories, because they were mostly all home games as well, or against, the only one on the road was a team that was terrible. And then, we had 3 losses when we played decent teams here, and we have not played any quadrant 1 teams at all. So a loss, the good news is we don't have any quadrant 4 losses. The bad news is we don't have any quadrant 1 wins. So a quadrant 1 loss will not hurt you that badly. It means you lost to a good team as opposed to losing to quadrant 3 or 4 teams that that's really rough on your net ranking. And as you can see, the net ranking for my team here is 103. That's because we just don't have really very many impressive wins. Blazer Taz, good to see you in the chat. He says, not sure if talked about in prior streams. Even if it was, it's okay. Has there been any changes to player calls? I have not I haven't done anything to change when you're calling your own players. So you can use the phone to call your own players. I'm going to try to give a couple more options to things here when you're talking to your players. Uh, but you can still cover the playing style, the attitude, the grades. I have turned down the effectiveness of having them tutor and stuff like that because I think it was a little bit too easy to make them get their grades back up if they were becoming ineligible. So that has gotten a little bit of attention. Nothing else yet on the player cards, or the player talking to them. But it's still a possibility. And if you go to your roster page and pull up your roster, you can also, instead of using the call option, you can use the option on your player cards to text your players as well. So if you don't want to go through the phone, the text is very similar. It's just a little bit different, communication and text and responses and stuff like that. But you can use the text option on the player cards to talk to your own players over the course of the season. And speaking of the player card, obviously this is brand new to the game. I really like the logo we have for the Idaho State Tigers. It looks really cool on this screen here. New on this screen is obviously the offensive proficiencies and the defensive proficiencies, so that you get a better look at a bar graph here going across the screen to see where your players are proficient. The player type code that was entered into the pro game is also into the college game this year. And because there's so many players in college basketball, you might have a team where you don't see any player types. That's probably the case. Oh, I do have two guys here. So Mike Hall has the player type of being a sharpshooter. Obviously, he's got a really high outside shooting rating. And we had David Thomas, who has the player card type for attacker. If you look at his ball actions by percentage, he's going to drive most of the time when he's looking to score here. So he has the attacker badge. He's also pretty good at drawing fouls as well. So, you can see these badges, and you'll know that if your player has one of those badges, he has a unique ability in the game. And you can also look at them as a whole on your roster page by using the View Bio option. It will default to View Ratings, but you can switch it over to View Bio, and then you'll be able to see that as well as kind of just an overview of the GPAs for everybody, the players who you can look here and see that Todd Worrell here has a yellow face for his mood. So when you see that, you can check that out and go to his player profile and see that his coach relationship and team relationship is not particularly high right now, but he is a freshman. So when freshmen come in, they don't start with a high relationship. We make you build it up, over time, and you can build it up fairly quickly in the first season, as long as nothing bad happens. There's no incidents and stuff like that. But they do come in, really not knowing the players and the team and stuff like that. So there's definitely differences between the college and pro games and how some of these things work, which I think is good because I think it really defines each game as an individual game. And when I've had people, one or two people over time saying, why can't it all just be in one game? Other than the fact that it's so huge of a game universe to put it all in one game, it's different games. The college aspect lets you focus on these proficiencies and your team strategies, which I'm going to pull that up now because we've had changes there. Whereas the pro game, it's really a team building type game. Kid Coffee Black, good to see you in the stream. Welcome. Let me know if there's anything that you're looking for. GM Games Chris asks, will the scouting report hint in which areas have the ratings which have potential left to go? I know we removed the horizontal bar. Chart compares. Is there a way to know which areas they have left to fill in if a potential has started to go? There's not, because I talked about this when we did the pro streams, and we first. Let me go back to the player card just so I can pull it up for everybody. When we first talked about, when I first redesigned this screen here to remove the potential ratings, the reason I did it was because I think it's very difficult. I think it's more realistic this way, to have a overall potential rating, to know that this player has room to grow still, but not to know exactly where, because I think that I think it's too unrealistic and too easy also to manipulate. That if you knew players were going to, and in the pro game there's a training camp and there's not training camp here, so it's a little bit different, but I think that you don't really know exactly where a player is going to get better at. You just know that a player, you see flashes in practice and things like that as a coach that says, hey, I see something in passing, that maybe he'll be a better passer. Maybe he made a nice pass or two in practice and are difficult passes or something, and you would say, as a coach, hey, maybe he's got something there. And maybe he was just lucky that day and just made, one or two really good passes, and it was just luck. So I think that not knowing the actual, potential that, that you're talking about, but just knowing that the player can get better, I think it works better that way, as opposed to knowing that, he will, if he reaches his potential, he'll be a 9 in passing, but he'll never be higher than a 6 in defensive rebounding or something like that. So I think it kind of helps to kind of have that uncertainty and make it a little bit tougher. Anyways, we were talking about the strategy page here, and one big new adjustment is, last year we had the offensive and defensive strategy options laid out side by side, and this year we've elected to toggle them back and forth through this button here to switch back and forth. But the gain here is being able to see all of your offensive and defensive proficiencies on this one screen, rather than having to go to the player cards for each player and see where they're at, and maybe if that you should adjust your offensive and defensive set usage based on that. So now you can see them all here, and they're color coded to make it easy to look at. So when you're looking down the line, I can see everybody's got a very basic approach or knowledge of the motion offense, but I don't really want to run that. I can see that we have very good proficiencies here if we're looking down the line at Princeton, at Shuffle, and even at Flex. And obviously, these guys are seniors, 5 seniors with the green boxes here, so they've had the most time to learn these things over time. And you have this game takes into account the value of a seasoned team, whereas again that's a difference from the pro game, where it's very unusual in the college game for a team of 5 freshmen to really do well, unless maybe you have a Fab 5 type situation or something like that. But if you're Idaho State and you've got 5 freshmen, you're going to be in trouble. So you've got these are the times where having that senior leadership helps and builds your team and gives you that opportunity maybe in the tournament to score an upset. So you'll be able to see all of your proficiencies here as well. And then of course this is what you're using in the game, and if you need descriptions of what each thing does, there's descriptions in here to help you understand if you're not familiar with certain terminology, so you don't have to be a basketball expert to play and enjoy the game. But this is available to you here, and this is the amount of times that you're running these things during the course of a game. If you want to work on different proficiencies, that's what you're going to do in your practice plan. And the practice plan is set at the top, and this is where you set your practice time every week. And the practice time you set is only for the amount of practice that's working on the the sets. So there are other things going on in the background that, it's not like you're not doing, shooting drills and running and things like that. This is just for the amount of practice time that you're using, how you're dividing up to use when you practice either your offensive or defensive sets. So if you want to, if I just took over this team and I want to have a team that plays a 2-3 zone, I need to start putting in the practice time so that when I go to use it, my players will gain proficiency in it. Right now, only 5 of them have any proficiency at all in the 2-3 zone defense. So while I can tell them to run it right now, and they will run it right now, everybody knows how to line up in a 2-3 zone. They will not be effective in this. If I sim or coach out the games and use this defense, I will give up more points on average than I would if the team had proficiency in the defense that you're using. So you can always use any offense or defense you want, but the higher the proficiency are, the better chance you have of scoring with the offense or defending with the defense. And it's something that you have to build up over time. You can't, even if you assigned 100%, which if you do, you might lose some knowledge in the other areas because they're not working on them or things like that. You still are going to take time to build that up for all the players. So again, it's really presenting a realistic approach to coaching a team and implementing, strategies and things like that over a long period of time. Blazer Taz asks, what has changed in coaching out games? If not applicable for tonight, that is fine. So full of questions. We haven't changed much in the actual what you can do as a coach during the game. We've changed a little bit of how things look during a game, though. So I can pull up a quick game and let you see some of these things as we'll sim through. And somebody asked me too, I don't know if it was in this stream or if it was on one of our many outlets, how's the sim speed compared to, the football games? The sim speed in the game, the college basketball will take the longest to sim a season because there's 357 teams playing 30 games each. So you do the math and you figure out how many games, need to be simmed through. So even though it is moving through them quickly, there are just a lot of games to get through. And we have added the other 4 more teams this year to the list. And I know that NCAA Hoops from our forums is working hard on getting his mod ready and things like that. So I know the modding community will be there as always to make things even more special for the game. So on the 2D screen here, we have changed the option to let's see, just make sure this is okay. So the recent play option box is new here. That will replace the play-by-play log. If you like the play-by-play log, you can click here and pull it back up here and have the play-by-play log at any time you want. But I like the recent plays. We added this in Pro Basketball, and I like how it functions here. And it kind of gives you kind of that game cast type feel. And plus you have running play-by-play here too that you can follow along. This button here, the fast forward button too, I don't know if people found this before in the game, but if you want to fast forward in the game, you don't have to jack the speed all up to 10 and watch things kind of move around the screen. You can just use this fast forward option and the game will, well, if you turn off pause it all stops, it'll work better. But the game will simulate without the players moving around on the screen and all the animations. And then when you get to an area that you feel like stopping at, you can pause and then get back into the game itself. We have moved buttons around on this 2D screen. The controls used to be at the top, and that was giving some people problems with things resizing and then not working properly sometimes after that. So the game controls have been moved down here. Same things with the substitution buttons. I'll move it along here so we get another substitution. So when you go to look at the substitution options, your buttons are lower as well, so they're not at the very top of the screen. Wayne, hey Wayne, how's it going? He says NCAA Hoops does an awesome job with his mod, and it adds tremendously to the fun. I totally agree with that. GM Games Chris asked about jerseys being switched for the squares. You can use any custom icon you want there. We do the squares here in the college game just because it's easier than trying to make 357 jersey icons. But if people like a jersey icon, they certainly can do that. Clashing the Clans, that's a new name for me in the chat. Welcome. Nice to see you. He asked, can you bring draft classes from this game to pro basketball? New to the series, just got college football. So a very big welcome to you as a new member of our Wolverine community, Clashing the Clans. You can absolutely bring draft classes from this game to pro basketball, and you can even link the leagues. So in your, and thank you for that follow. In the game options, there is an option here that you can turn on to let the game know that you've linked your league with Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball. And what you do is in Pro Basketball, when you set up your league, or even you can change it while the league's in session, you create your league in college basketball, then you create the league in pro basketball, and when you're setting it up, you link it back to this college basketball league. And what will happen is there's instructions on how to sim things in order, and those instructions are under the help option in the pro basketball game. So you just have the same menu. If you get the pro basketball game, help will give you step-by-step instructions on what to do, how far to sim, things like that. And the rookies will come right over. They'll move right over from college to pro without you having to do anything. And you also will get the option now in the pro basketball game, which people are talking about. Why I mentioned earlier, why can't we just combine the games? Well, that's what we started doing a little bit with the linked league options in the pro game. In the pro game, you can actually access the standings, stats, things like that from your college game without having to click back over to the college game to look through things. So if you want to run a college league just as a feeder for your pro league, you can totally do that. If you want to run them both and control both at the same time, and really get invested in seeing some of your players move to the pros, you can absolutely do that. If you want to just run your college league because that's what you care about, and you want to use it to feed in the pros and then sim out leagues in the pros without controlling anything there, just because you want to see your college guys keep moving forward, you can do that as well. So there's so many options to link these two games together. And the same functionality exists, since you said you got the college football game, the same functionality exists between college and pro football, where you can link those leagues together and move your players from college to pro, so that you can keep tabs on seeing those guys. RG Schultze says he's so keen for the game, going to start off the broadcast because I only got here. This will be on replay, and all of our broadcasts are on our YouTube channel as well. So if you're not following us, follow on YouTube. And Blazer Taz says he likes the changes and it looks good. So we're just about out of time, but I promised first access news, and I will deliver. First access for Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2021 begins next Monday, February 15th. So on next Monday, you can come to WolverineStudios.com exclusively. You can pre-order. You can get a discount. And you can download the latest betas, and you can play the beta builds and hopefully provide feedback on things that you are finding that might need correction or changes. That's why we do it. If you want to learn more about our first access program, there is a link in our blog. If you go to our website and click the blog link and you scroll back a couple of entries, there is a link that tells all about First Access, why we do it, what it is. But we definitely want you to get involved in it, and it will be your first chance to play the game. GM Games Chris noticed that it's February 15th in my sim here. That was not an accident. That was a clue all along. And I'm excited. I am excited to get First Access out to you guys. The beta internal team has had it for a little while. We're cleaning a couple of things up, making some more. We've talked about the 200 some suggestion list that I continue to go through and continue to add things from. I think it's going to be a great game, and then we'll have it out ready for the beginning of March. March 1st would be our targeted release date. So it will be a short First Access period, as it typically is for our college basketball game. And then, of course, we want the game out there for March, and everybody's excitement for hopefully this year. Hopefully it happens. March Madness this year. We can't have another season without March Madness like we did last year. So I'm really excited to get this out to you on next Monday. Typically, we kind of start the pre-orders around noon Eastern when we start First Access. So don't be there at like 6 a.m. pushing refresh. You'll just give our website a lot of hits, I guess, but it won't help you get the First Access any earlier. So look for that about Monday at noon. And let's get fired up for another great season of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2021. This is probably my favorite game that we have. I know that the community that we have here for the college basketball game is outstanding. They've really gotten behind the game over these so many years, and I know it's kind of like a cult following here with some of our college basketball guys. They love that game so much. So I am super excited to get this out. And next Monday, again, First Access will begin. You'll have the opportunity to pre-order, to get a discount, to get the playable beta builds, and of course that complimentary Steam key if you want it on Steam. So if you want it on Steam, pre-order it from us. Help us out by doing that, and you'll still get your Steam key, and you'll have about 2 weeks or so to pre-order and get in on the beta. So that will do it for tonight. This is a very exciting stream as we kind of wind down the Developer Dynasty series here. This is the last of our 2021 launches and releases to get through, and we've had a lot of fun here on Twitch. Of course, we've got our Twitch content on Wednesdays, the WSBA, the Pro Basketball 2021 League that we're running. Actually, Wolverine Steel is actually running that league and broadcasting on Twitch. So check that out tomorrow night at 8 if you want to be, see what's going on there, or even if you want to be part of it and join up. And if you're just here for college hoops, then I will see you back here next week, because Monday will be the day. So Monday we will get things rolling on First Access. So thank you everybody for coming to the stream tonight. The comments, the chats, the new followers we got, and of course, don't forget, if you can, subscribe to the channel, whether you're subscribing through your own or if you're using the free monthly subscription option. Just remember to hit that up every month and renew it for us to continue to support us. So thanks everybody, and have a great night. We'll see you next week for First Access.